Because I wasn't going to film this, I've not filmed the progress so far. Basically, I've got an old like RSJ slash column. It's got a bit missing, but I had it. An offcut of a fence post, which is out the corner of this garage. I've bought a 3 metre piece of angle iron, 50x50 by, I think it's about 5 or 6 mil. Basically, welding it to the top. The other piece, I've got a 3 metre piece, the other piece is there, just been cut in that saw. And I'm hopefully going to make a metal folder using an air jack. So the idea is these are going to be the bottom formers. I'm just now about to weld across. I just snotted the insides up. I didn't clean the galvanising off it either, so absolutely caned me with splatter. But I've just cleaned a bit of the zinc coating off there, and I'm just going to put a couple of spot welds. Not going to put anything on the inside other than inside there where I did it. So I'll give that a quick weld now, and then we'll start looking at how we're going to attach the next bit, because obviously we need a jack above it there and enough space for that air jack, potentially 2. Eventually I might have one there if I need the extra strength, and then we need to mount that on the top. Right, so I've got that welded on now. It's not the best, you see there where I didn't clean up the zinc properly. I'm having a bit of difficulty with the wire speed on my old welder, so I've ordered a budget one off eBay, a 250 amp one from Blackline, which made the TIG welder I've got, which is pretty decent. So I'm now making the blade that's going to actually make the fold, and what I've done is I've got another piece of the 50-50 and I've got a piece of slightly thinner, I'll show you from the end, 40 by 50 I think it was, and that is slightly shorter, so I've got the blade there, and then I'm going to weld a tube onto the centre of this one, which will be the blade. So I've welded that on the back, as you can see, stitch welded it, which I think should be alright. I'm just going to stitch weld it across the top as well, and then that's where the jack will sit. And as you can see, it's got quite a big base, so what I'll do is in the centre here I'll grind it down to put the welds in, and then flush it off, obviously, so that the jack can fit on. Right, welder just died a couple of times. First it overheated, then the fuse blew, but I've put a couple of welds just across the top, and then I've just ground out a groove, so I'm going to just do a full fill in that section where the jack's going to sit. Right, so we've got the piece welded on, flushed off where the air jack's going to sit. I did buy some hollow bar, but I've had this already, so that's going to be welded onto there, sort of central to where this is, but obviously the other way around, so the bottom's flush with there. And then if you imagine this is the solid bar, that's going to be welded straight up, so that this will go up and down. Right, so here we are so far. I'll stick it on the tripod to just show you basically what I've done. I've only tacked everything for now, just to make sure that it's actually going to work. Right, so as I mentioned, these are just tacked in, so they've got a fair bit of movement in them at the minute. But the idea is this will lift up, and the hydraulic or the air jack will push that down, and hopefully bend the sheet of metal in between them two angles. I've got some springs off, I I can't remember what they're off. I think they're off my pipe bender that I bought, because I'm going to be using that jack for the pipe bender as well, the air jack. So I don't need them ones. So what I'll do now is I'll firm up these welds all the way around there, because I can always knock this out with the hammer to get it exactly right. So what I'll do, I'll wedge a couple of pieces of wood in here. So I'm never going to be bending anything thicker than that, so I'm not going to need any more than that movement. And if I put another tap on each side of this bar, say one in the corner there, and one in this corner there, try it up and down again, we should get somewhere close. I'm going to be honest, as it arced a bit in there then, the weld will look like it's on fire on the inside. I don't know if it's just overheated again. I thought it was on time lapse then. I'll see how much I've missed, but this will be the top piece. I've just cut a hole in there, not all the way through, stops obviously at the bottom, so I'm going to weld that round there, piece of scaffolding tube, which I had already, so that will reinforce where the top of the bottle jack sits onto. I've then cut 4 offcuts of scaffolding tube that will sit on top of there, and there, and that's not quite wide enough, that, but it'll be enough to get it to sit on top anyway. So I'm going to get them welded up. Hopefully the welder's going to work, because it keeps cutting out on full power, and ideally I need it on full power, but for now I'll get it tacked on anyway, so we can get it at least squared up. Doesn't need to be perfect, but I want it somewhat like. And then I'm going to have to reinforce this end, because that, obviously I cut a piece out of that years ago, so I'll have to reinforce that down to the ground and maybe put a piece back in there. I've got a little offcut there, so I can sort that afterwards anyway. Alright, so it's all tacked in now, so I've only got a couple of tacks around this. I've drilled some holes there to put some more bar in, but I haven't got any more yet. I have got that piece is still to weld in there to give it the extra strength, which will connect them two pieces together. Same with them, and obviously we need to sort out this bottom corner. But I've done this after work, so I wanted to give it a test, see how it does. This is a very bent piece of panel off the MX-5. I'm just going to see if it will make a bend in it. If any of the welds break, it's to be expected. It's a lovely sharp bend, and it's beyond 90. I don't know if you can see that in the camera. Yeah, beyond 90 that. Just to test the strength of it, let's give it a whack straight across. I think what I'll do though, let's twist this round. So I'll just try releasing it just a little bit, just enough to get the piece out. Snap. Again, straight through a crease, and we've got a full 90-degree bend. I'm going to get something thicker. I shouldn't, because I need to seam weld round all the tops really and the bottoms, but let's see. Right, this piece of metal might break the welds, to be honest with you, but I'm going to try it. It is 6.3, I'll just make sure you can see. So it's 6.3 mil. I want to give it a proper test, so I don't want to do it on that bit, but it won't go in any further, so we'll try anyway. So that was 6.3 mil. That's the bend that we put on it there, and it also did a second bend because the obviously the piece was in the way. No movement on any of the jaws or anything. Right, so as you can see, I've got thermal overload again on the welder, so I'll have to pick it up probably tomorrow night when I finish work. Hopefully it'll have enough juice in it then. If not, my new welder should be here this week, and that's going to be a 250 amp and that'll plug into a 16 amp socket, whereas this is only 13 amp. So hopefully that'll do a bit better. I mean, I've just been reinforcing the welds. They're not pretty, but I'm on old steel, and I've essentially made it out of scrap. I'm only welding them at the bottom to give them a little bit of movement, because it's not going to cause any harm, and I'll probably chop them off somewhere like that, so I can actually take that piece out and potentially put a different one in with different size sections in. So well, I've done the whole thing after work, so it's not going to take me long to make another couple of them. And I got a 3 metre length of the tube, and I've only used 20 centimetres. So I'll pick back up tomorrow, hopefully get that welded in then, to give it that bit of extra strength. Not that it's needed it so far, nothing happened. And obviously nothing happened here. I've not got any scaffold tube to go through there, but I'm sure I can acquire some. And then obviously that'll just give that extra bit of strength. I might even be able to go then from there up to that one at a bit of an angle if ever I need to. So it's agricultural, but it's functional, and that's all I'm bothered about. It's so I can make potentially floor sections on this, and it's a metre wide as well. So I can bend steel that's up to a metre. Right, it's just update, just been to Halfords. I have done a little bit since, I forgot to film though. I got, for the first time ever for me, a 5 litre drum of MIG welding wire. It's 0.8mm this as well, which is what the machine apparently is more suited to from what I looked at. I've just filled in these welds. Found it really easy as well to fill in a big gap. So there's a massive gap there. I'll show you on the other side how big, unless you can remember from before. This was with the old welder last night, and so was that. I've managed to fill in the gaps at the top as well. Like I said, I've not cleaned the metal properly, so it's not as neat as it could be. I've just had to leave it for a bit because it was too hot to spin round, but I'll spin it round now and I'll show you the other side. Right, I'm sorry I'm out of breath now, I'm ruined. So these are the gaps that I filled in with weld. I mean, I'm not cleaning up the zinc off there because I can penetrate through it, so it'll be fine. Same on this side. Let's get that filled in all the way around there on the inside, and then I can get the back of these done here, this one there, and then we'll get that gap filled in there and we'll weld the top on. So I'll get on with that now, and we'll give the welder an actual test, eh? Alright, so there's my metal folder completed. A few drips in the paint, but it's lucky to get some paint on it. I'm going to give it a quick coat just to just to make it one colour. As you see, that's all still a bit nasty underneath there, a bit of cement still on it, but I'm not bothered, it works. It'll do everything I want it to do. One day I'll fix that, but if I can bend that 50x50 box section without it, I don't think it's struggling, do you? But I will get that done. I will weld that piece on there when I've got a little bit more time. But let me know what you think. I had a look last night, it cost me 70 quid for the angle iron. The air jack cost me 40 quid off Facebook Marketplace. I had them bars, I had the springs, and I had that as an offcut and that as an offcut. So all in all, like 120 quid with welding wire, bits and pieces like that. And obviously you could buy a little offcut or Facebook Marketplace. It doesn't look great. I looked at quite a few of these before I decided to make one myself, and people they drew them up, spent ages. I've pretty much used stuff that I had and I've made it work. Like I say, I've got a broken piece of RSJ on the bottom, piece of box section on the top, scaffolding bars, a bit of threaded rod and some angle iron, and you saw the cuts you saw the bends it makes, and it's bang on. It's going to do me a treat. And what I thought I can do as well, because it can go up to this sort of height, is if I make like a sleeve to go around there, I can have it as like a bit of a box bender as well. So I can make little sections at different widths. So rather than swapping the whole thing out, I can just have a piece that goes on, maybe a couple of grub screws through, and I can have a bit that sticks down, because it'll easily bend the type of metal I'm talking about. Obviously it won't be for the thick stuff, but for panels, I can easily do it. So let me know what you think anyway.